Okay, welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public sessions. To comply with the Governor's proclamation declaring a state of emergency in Maryland to minimize the person-to-person spread of COVID-19, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch and participate with the county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meetings live on our QAC website at www.qac.org/live or on QAC TV's television channel, Atlantic Broadband Channel 7 and High Definition Channel 507. Citizens may also participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to www.qac.org/public comment and may post comments to publiccomment@qac.org. We will accept comments up until the end of this evening's meeting, and comments received will be read during the press and public comment period on this evening's agenda. To maintain public health protocols, seating will be limited to accommodate social distancing guidelines. If you have any respiratory symptoms such as fever, cough, and/or shortness of breath, please refrain from attending the meeting and notify a healthcare provider. We acknowledge your participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside of our meeting room. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to three minutes per person. If you care to speak, you must sign the information table outside. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. During the meeting, we would ask that you turn off all electronic devices and hold personal conversations outside of our meeting room. We will now stand to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Chris Corcorino.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a moment of silence for the people of India who are experiencing a surge in COVID infections and deaths. Thank you.
Okay, we just had a closed session under section 3-305B7 of the General Provisions article to consult with counsel, and sections 305B1 to discuss personnel, and no decisions were made. So next brings us to the approval of the agenda. The agenda for today's meeting, April 27th, and the regular meeting minutes from your April 13th meeting and the April 7th budget work session were distributed for your review electronically. Do we have any additions and/or corrections?
I'd like to amend the agenda to add action item 6.
All right, got a motion to amend the agenda. In a second?
Second. Okay,
All those in favor?
one correction. Do you want to add information item 5 as well, Commissioners?
Oh, sorry, yes, and informational item 5. Okay.
All right. We'll build that right into your motion.
Did not look, yes, put that into my motion. Yes.
I'll revise my second.
Second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you,
Okay,
Commissioners.
motion to adopt the agenda and minutes with the amendments.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries.
All right, thank you. All right, that brings us to our first press and public comment period. So thank you for taking the time to express your views to the County Commissioners during this public comment period. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. When you come forward, please speak clearly at the standing microphone. State your name, address, and topic of interest. Keeping with the dignity of our office, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. The Commission respects your desire and right to convey your message freely. We ask as a courtesy to the board and our citizens that you respect the Commissioner's request and refrain from name-calling citizens and offering any critique. So, anybody sign up?
Did you have any?
I didn't pull it up.
Okay. All right, we just have one email tonight.
All right.
It's from Patricia Fitchett. My name is Patricia Fitchett. My husband, John Fitchett, and I have contacted Queen Anne's County many times over the past several years, beginning prior to 2016. The subject being an issue with flooding from rain or storm runoff from the land behind our property situated on 920 Monroe Manor Road, Stevensville, Maryland. I have also sent pictures and video of the flooding, which I can provide if needed. This flooding occurs on a regular basis. We had a major problem with runoff during the hurricane in August of 2020. This caused us to incur major damage to our property and home. The water flowed from the farmland behind our house, mainly into our neighbor's backyard, and then onto our property. Their backyard then Their backyard then resembled a large pond with the water flooding over our property, trying to get to the drainage ditches and the road. Water flooded our garage, crawl space, and in-ground pool. The ditches next to our house are supposed to take runoff to the street, but they cannot handle the flow of water. We would greatly appreciate anything the Queens County may be able to do to alleviate this problem. Respectfully, Pat Fitchett. And that concludes our public comment on virtual.
And just, so Pat, everybody else lives in Cloverfields who may not be aware, there is a virtual town hall tomorrow at 6 o'clock addressing the issues of drainage in Cloverfield. So I urge you to watch that. If not, I think we'll have it recast later on. You can watch it again later. Okay?
No other public comment then? Okay. All right, Commissioners, we can go into our new business for this evening. If you want to turn to tab number 3, we have 6 items, I believe. And the first one on page 1, action item 1, page 1, is the Circuit Courthouse site work, completion of the exterior landscaping and site hardscaping. And we have Chief Engineer Lee Edgar here from Department of Public Works, so he can, do you want to get a motion on this to start, or do you want to?
I move to reject the bids on the Circuit Courthouse site work completion contract and instructed the Budget Authority remain through next year and Director of Public Works re-advertise in early 2022.
Second.
All right, got a motion second. Discussion.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. As indicated in the memo, generally when we do not receive 3 bids, our recommendation to you is to reject those bids and try again later. Certainly that is a proposed motion here. One other potential motion or consideration would be potentially awarding the job because there was 1 bid. To be clear, we had an architect prepare plans for this, a pretty tight spec detailing our expectations. So that was one of the things that contributed to the prices. We had proactively reached out to several local contractors that we know when the invitation to bid went out, notifying them of the work and encouraging them to come to the pre-bid and submit a bid. There were several contractors then that did attend the pre-bid meeting, and some had proposed some questions during the process. At the end of the day, there was just 1 bid. So we did reach out to the other contractors and say, what happened here? Is there a particular reason why you didn't submit a bid? The general response was one of, we are just very, very busy. This is a tight spec on what you're looking for, and it just, if timing was different, we might bid, but that's why we didn't. The one contractor that did submit a bid, we spoke with him at length at the time of his bid. He is a qualified local vendor from, based out of Graysonville. And he'd indicated, as a general contractor, he generally does, most of his work is across the bridge. In this case, he was induced to submit because it was his own circuit courthouse, and so he also had a window of time. We went over with him some of where he felt the costs were and such, and done a little bit more work. Without having additional prices, it's difficult to say whether or not the bid that was received is indeed competitive. However, upon checking his references and going through the work, if you decide to award the job, I think there is a good sound basis to award it from the standpoint that it is a local vendor who bid by the spec, and it is a busy time. If we rebid it, probably next year, it's anyone's guess. We could get a lower price, we could get a higher price. So that's where we're at. Happy to answer any questions regarding the scope of work or anything else regarding the procurement itself.
They're rolling dice.
Anybody got any questions?
I would be inclined to move ahead because I think things are going to get more. Lumber, when I talked to you last, it had gone from 400 to 950, then it was 1,020, and now it's gone from 400 to 1,340 per 1,000. So, I mean, maybe in a year, 3 years, I don't know. I'd be asked, you're in the construction business.
Well, yeah, but, I guess I think our responsibility is to be stewards of the money, and I'm not saying by voting for them, we wouldn't be, but we have nothing to gauge it against. Right. So we don't know if we're, right, wrong, or indifferent. So if it goes up by $10,000 or $15,000 and we have 7 different bids, I'm comfortable with that. I just, we don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess we could hold off and let me look through the plans and I can tell you if I think it's a good number, but, I mean, it's sidewalk work, so, and some landscaping, but other than that, I gotta say.
I think as a process, we've always held to keeping
Right.
a minimum of 2,
Yeah.
preferably 3. So I think it's tough to go with a single bidder because, as Jim said, there's no way to
This is a bit
gauge it.
unique in that we have a lot of landscape contractors and people that can do this work. Non-people were, interested initially. It's not like it's a limited, rare type of procurement that would only get 1 or 2 bids.
Yeah.
So it's.
That wasn't a recommendation, it was just a reflection.
No, I
Yeah,
understand.
And I take it, yeah, because you're right, because we are rolling the dice on any
Right.
construction project right now. Is to, we're playing the stock market, honestly. It could go down, who knows? I'm hoping it goes down. I think a lot of people are.
One other thing unique to this particular job is that it was a bit of a gray area where, due to the installation of some deep dry wells and such, that the scope of this work tended to exceed what most of the landscapers would do. It was more advanced than their typical job. Not that they couldn't, but it was more complicated than usual, while yet from a overall job standpoint from the general contractors, it's kind of too small and simple for the big guys as well. So it is a odd
It's
project.
a tweener.
It's an in-betweener.
All right. Well, we have a motion to reject the bid on the Circuit Courthouse.
And can I recommend,
Go
before
ahead.
we go into, just maybe to bring this back around in the late fall, early winter time for rebid, just because at that time of the year, that's a lot of times when your landscapers and all are looking to get a backlog to go into the next spring, so that may be the right time to get that thing back out on the street, maybe get more interest.
Absolutely.
They'd slow down for them and
Right.
So noted.
All right. So we have a motion to reject the bids on the Circuit Courthouse site work completion contract and instruct the Budget Authority to remain through next year and the Director of Public Works to re-advertise. And we've actually, you want to re-advertise in late 2001 is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, 21, yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Now I got questions for you.
Yes,
Since we got
sir.
that taken care of. So can you give us a little bit of update on the old courthouse? I mean, I was, a contractor reached out to me about the roof, and I didn't know we were even entertaining thoughts of doing the roof. I know that the cornice work was gonna get done. Can you just, I mean, I know that, so the public knows this also, that, the building was gonna be repainted. They started power washing, everybody liked the whitewash look, and everything stopped. Can you just give us a brief, here's what's going on, and this is when it's gonna happen?
No, absolutely. And it was a good summary there. As you know, we did have the painting contract out there. Contractor had mismanaged that. It caused him to have to remove some of the paint. And in removing the paint, it gave us the opportunity to view the courthouse in a way that it hasn't been viewed in many generations. Folks liked the looks, so we stopped. We looked at exploring options. We brought on board a couple architects who Greg Torchio, who has significant experience over the years with the building, as well as Barton Ross, who specializes in historical structures. We've conferred with them and looked for, in order to avoid, even though we had a really solid spec, this is our grand old lady, and so as to avoid any other mistakes in the future, we have been looking very specifically for very qualified contractors who specialize in historical restorations. Because now the scope of the work has changed from just painting now to removing more paint to achieve a more uniform look, while at the same time preserving the envelope of the building, looking at repointing, ensuring that the brick is adequate. We did bring in a specialist from Virginia who has done a lot of work with masonry. He's Raymond Canetti. He came out, did an assessment of the building, more or less determined that it is in excellent structural condition, including the brick. That more or less gave us the go-ahead to understand that we can take the paint off, we can leave it bare, and the building will be fine. So we did that assessment. We also have a contract with a woman who's analyzing the paint samples before we remove the paint. This is our last opportunity in cases where the paint wasn't removed. Taking these samples, she is able to do a microanalysis right down to, she'll be able to determine within a decade the various layers of paint that were applied and lime wash, because once we strip the paint, that will be forever lost to history. So we're taking our time and taking the right steps with the building. Presently, we've identified some contractors that we are reaching out to and have tentatively scheduled to begin in May and June for doing repairs to all of the wood trim, which in some cases is going to require custom fabrication of wood which is appropriate, hardwoods that are proper for the building and are going to last a long time, as well as application of paints which will work for a long time. Discussion about the roof came up with, as we repair this trim, there are some areas where the wood trim had deteriorated due to the intrusion of water. We really can't repair that drip edge without getting into some of the lower shingles. The roof on that building is about right at its life expectancy. So now would be an appropriate time to look at replacing the roof. We haven't made decisions on that, but we have put out some tentative asks for rough orders of magnitude for different options: slate, synthetic slate, cedar shingles, and asphalt shingles, just to get some rough ideas of pricing.
What's on there right now?
Those are asphalt shingles. Yep, and it was slate before that, but that's very costly, and it's a lot of weight on the building, so that's likely not something we're going to be looking at. But we put out some asks for some order of magnitude so that we can decide with our architects what spec we'll put together for replacing the roof on the building, and then eventually put that out to bid. So we don't have any bids out for that yet, but the work will be commencing. Some of the samples and everything that we've been doing has been in the last several weeks. Work could begin as early as May, and will take several months. Just the wood repair itself is probably going to be a 2 to 3 month process. Another contractor removing the more of the paint, that's going to take some time, as we can't remove too much. It needs to be uniform all the way around. So that is where we're at with the building, and of course.
How does the contract for the woodworking, is that something that'll come in front of us, or is that something you guys are just going to do in-house?
That was something we were going to do in-house, with the understanding that you wanted it done in a reasonable time frame, and more critically, that it's done by qualified vendors who aren't going to screw it up. And we would be soliciting prices from a few vendors.
Okay, great.
Unless you want to see it again.
No, good, thank you. Appreciate the update.
I say that's a very commendable thoroughness, sir. You've done
Well, thank you.
brilliantly, really. Yeah.
So much appreciated. And if you have any more questions or need anything, you know where to find us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, thanks, Lee. All right, Commissioners, moving on. Item 2 on page 4 is a memorandum here from Donna Landis-Smith, and this is a recommendation from her local agricultural advisory board to adopt stricter standards, monetary standards, for the rural legacy easement valuation system to reserve a lot on these properties that go through the MOUF program. So it is a pretty significant increase, but it is recommended by their board. So did I get a motion on that? It's tab 3, item 2.
You gotcha.
Get a motion on that?
I move to approve the proposed lot deductions of 5 times the baseline value per non-subdividable lots and 8 times the baseline value per subdividable lot on a rural legacy easement.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Donna here?
Yeah, she not here?
I'm just confused by what.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I want
okay.
to understand a little bit. Is she saying that it's going to cost more to put it into preservation because they're going to?
So basically, if you want to reserve a lot for a future child or
Right.
for another
Yep.
house on
Yep.
one of these
Right.
eased areas, currently the value is deducted from the easement that you get back. So it's like $890 per acre. This would increase that amount for a per lot for a subdividable lot, which means you could cut that off
Yep.
in the future at some point in time or not. So a subdividable lot would go to $25,888 as a deduction. A non-subdividable lot would be $16,000.
Is that per acre?
Per lot.
Per lot.
That's per
So,
lot.
but you don't know how big the lot is, I guess?
Well, the lots would be anywhere from 1 to 2 acres max. The highest end size would be 2 acres. That's part of the part of the calculation.
Yeah.
And
But I
if-
guess, so who's benefiting here? Somebody else benefits, there's money, so,
Well-
I mean, is the rural legacy, is it those that grant the money, is it those that own the property? I mean,
It provides a mechanism for them to reserve a lot for a child or a future sale, but it reduces the amount of money they get back as part of the easement.
It saves money
Yeah.
from the government because.
okay, so that's what I mean, so if they want to, so before, what was the fees before?
809.
890. Yeah.
Or
So just a flat fee, and now they're saying if you've got multiple lots, you can get up to over 25,000. So somebody was getting $400,000 to put their farm into, now if they want that one lot that's subdividable, they're gonna deduct 25,000 versus 890.
It's 8,090 per acre, Jim, is what it was, so it's 800, and then it's 10%, if you read it, it's 10% of that was the fee.
Yeah. And who's requesting this? I mean, I know it's rural legacy, but I mean, is this something that we have to do, or is this something that they're just recommending?
That is something that they would like us to confirm. The local authority must approve that. That would be the Board of Commissioners.
Is this time sensitive, Todd?
Yeah, do I have
It is
to
not.
come in
I
and?
mean, if
Can we
you
get
want-
Donna to come in,
Yeah,
please?
Let's table this.
Just to,
Yeah.
because I'm looking at that formula, that looks almost like calculus and scary. I mean, how they're gonna come
It
up with all
is
that
somewhat
stuff.
confusing, yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
let's table this.
I mean, just so you could come in and bring us an example of what would happen right now if I had a 2-acre lot, and what would happen if this is approved.
Right,
and-
10 years from now or whatever.
Yeah,
Never do that, yeah.
that's all.
Typically, I know that she said it's generally just for one lot they want to reserve for an additional tenant house or somebody in the family they want to potentially build a house in the future on a farm.
But yeah, I guess, but when you bump it 8 times,
10 times, really?
10 times,
10
excuse me.
times,
10
really?
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so.
That's significant.
It's kind of healthy, and that to me is somebody who wants to be a deterrent from having a buildable lot.
Yeah.
And, I just want to make sure that, I'd like to see what
For
some
a family
farmers think
member.
about that.
Well, she indicated, I asked her those same questions of why 8, why 5, and she said they compared their land values to other counties, other jurisdictions, and that's where their board felt they were at that reasonable level. So, but she can certainly explain that, and she's done her homework. So I'll have her come in at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
All right, so we'll table that one.
table it, yep.
Okay. Next item is item number 3 on page 14, and this is a rather thick item here, and this is from the Upper Shore Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Group, and this is the operational plan that they produce for every several years. This is for 2020, 2024, and this also requires the local chief elected official to sign off on this plan, and they would be happy to come in and do a presentation if you like as well, or we can...
I move to sign the Upper Shore Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act combined plan for 2020 to 2024.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 4 is from Clay Washington, and this involves the Kennard Historic School over there, some repair work, a funding request from him, and they have a drainage problem around the building, and we did actually, Public Works staff did look at this. They definitely have some drainage issues around the perimeter. This particular contract is for installation of an interior dewatering system. So our Public Works folks are looking at this, so I think they want some assistance in getting this remediation completed.
But this motion here is for 7,000, they need more than that.
Right.
They need
7,000 is the
17,000.
grant they already
7,000
got.
what we did already.
Right, they
Yeah,
need
so I guess-
17,000.
Yeah, they need, well, I would suggest that we allow Public Works to continue their research because they got some ideas on the perimeter, because the water's getting in from the outside, either the downspouts or the drainage, and they have not completed their analysis. I have spoken to Clay about this myself, so I think he's fine with that. So I think if we want to support them, we can certainly do that with the interior work, but we may need to do some exterior work as well out here at the school.
In discussing this with him on the phone, there were concerns about mold and all the work that's been done inside and the museum displays that they have there and the possibility of them being affected by the moisture levels in the building, there seems to be a sense of urgency on his part. So, I mean, if we're going to turn DPW onto this, and it just seems to me that there's a time-sensitive issue here when you
Yes.
when you start factoring in mold.
I don't disagree, but I think that we should have DPW look at it. If we're going to deal with the outside, we should look at it and at least get it
Make sure we fix it.
informed.
Oh, and I agree.
And make sure
I
that the
agree,
work that's being done is actually going to work on both sides.
Right. I'm not
Before we.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying from a time-sensitive standpoint, how quick can DPW get on it, make the recommendations, and start working towards, fixing the problem, because mold isn't going to sit and wait for us.
Well, I was over there myself, and there is some mold and some things in the basement that probably need to be removed right away. Like I said, this particular proposal is for interior work to get water out, but, and this may be a part of the solution, but we still have to work around the outside to make sure the water
Doesn't go back in.
get back in.
Right.
So then why don't we table this till DPW comes back and tells us what it's gonna cost and how it's gonna get fixed?
We certainly can do that.
Is that your plan? Your
Yeah.
DPW is just gonna basically act as a general and see what the issue is and how to rectify it, and then we can vote on it?
And mitigate the mold now. I mean, you can
Right.
mitigate the mold with bleach or whatever to
Yeah.
stop the mold.
I think
That
the
way we
urgency
address it
came,
without it creeping into becoming a bigger issue.
Right.
Right. Address the mold now and then look at the bigger plan, kind of like what we did with the, I guess Terrapin or wherever it was, Riverview. Riverside, where we had the issues there.
We'll pay for it.
all right. All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item 5 is the FY22 proposed County Commissioners budget and the citizens letter. So that is in your book there. So that's just basically, this is the letter that we would mail out to all of the county residents, along with the summary budget that we have concluded over these past several weeks. So can I get a motion on that?
I move to approve the FY 2022 proposed county commissioners budget and the FY 2022 letter to be mailed to the Queen Anne's County citizens.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
I thought we normally did that after we did our hearings, and we did a final approval of the budget.
We adopt the budget at the conclusion of the hearings. This is our county commissioners' proposed budget, goes to the
Okay, so
citizens. We'll have the hearings, then we have one final work session after our budget.
After the
works.
hearings.
After the
We
hearings. and then we'll
we
adopt.
don't write twice, we just,
Right, okay, all right, very good.
All right.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item 6 is our desk item for this evening. Action item, letter to MDTA. This is a repeat. We sent a letter, if you recall, to MDTA endorsing the Across the Bay 10K race for Ironman. Ironman has since pulled out, and they asked us for a more generic letter. We are working with a new organizer to pick that up. So this is just a similar letter to support that effort.
I move to sign the revised 10K Chesapeake Bay Bridge Run letter to the Maryland Transportation Authority.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The Ironman is gone for good from here on out, or is it just 1 year?
Just, they did not want to participate and organize the race this particular year. They had too many other things in their portfolio, and
Really?
their corporate office said they wanted to
Scale back?
walk away from this particular event. Because it is intensive from a logistical standpoint. But we do have another local group from Maryland that is looking at it very seriously, and I think we'll be able to work something out with them as well for this year.
Still the October timeframe?
Yeah, same date. I mean, it was curious, because Ironman went through all the hoops to get the date,
Yeah.
and working with MDTA and the bridge administrator, so.
And then
we were
walk
kind of
away.
surprised they pulled out at that last minute. But good news is we have somebody else on board, we believe.
All right, so we have a motion to sign the revised 10K Chesapeake Bay Bridge Run letter to the MTA, and it's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries.
Okay, that's all of our action items for this evening. We have some presentations. We want to do the presentations next?
Yep.
Okay. Next up, we have our librarian, I believe, is here. Yeah, Janet Salazar. Come on in, Janet. How you doing? I am great. Good to see you. And we've got a presentation up on our new lovely screens, so we can all see those. So,
Tab 6.
yes, tab Tab 6 as well is the presentation in your books as well, item 1 and tab 6.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Janet Salazar. I'm the Director for the Queen Anne's County Library, and I appreciate your time tonight. I'm just going to do a real quick update on the library, our Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and the actual expansion project. So hopefully I can get this to work. Usually this doesn't do it very well for me, so oh yay. During the pandemic, as you know, the library had to close for a while, but in June we reopened, and when we did, we instituted a few new services. Our Library Express contactless pickup, which we are still doing today, allows people to just pick their stuff up from outside and they don't have to come in and talk to us or talk to anybody else. We also instituted in September Library by Appointment to keep our community and our staff safe. I'm happy to say that we're open all of our regular hours now. We have no capacity limit, so you can come in and browse and use computers as you normally would in the library. We also revised our library app, which allows you to schedule your pickup time for your items that you're going to come and pick up from the curbside. It also allows you to check out items without having to actually go to a person to do so. So if you come in the library and you find something that you like, you can just take a picture of the barcode from your phone and it checks it out to your library card, which we're very excited about. So that is our mobile checkout, and we're very happy with that it's working as well as it is. We also just launched a library podcast called Searching the Catalog. So if you look on Spotify, you will find our new podcast. During this time, we also implemented our Lendable technology service. This was something we were already talking about before the pandemic hit, and this just kind of moved up our timeline. So we currently are loaning out 20 mobile hotspots and 8 laptops to our community to help them work from home and to learn from home, and they're always out. Always, always, always out, and we're hoping for more in FY22. We also had to pivot from in-person programs to virtual programs, and we have provided 272 programs to about 5,000 people throughout the county during this year. And during FY20, we did circulate about 350,000 items. About 60,000 of those are digital. We did notice that we had a 33% increase in our digital circulation this year, obviously because nobody was actually coming into the library very much. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library continues to be a very successful program with the support of the commissioners, and we do appreciate your support of that program. Also, our partners, the Judy Center, the Queen Anne's County Family Center, and Healthy Families have helped us currently enroll 793 children. We have graduated 1,074 children, and since the library started taking over the program in 2018, 34,986 books have been mailed to children in Queen Anne's County, so it's very, very successful, and we hope for continued support from the commissioners this year. Our Kent Island expansion project, I think, is going about as well as can be expected. Phase 1 construction was started in September, and it's supposed to go till about July, but I know that that's a very fluid timeline and it will probably get pushed back a little bit, but that was our original thought, and that phase 2 would go from September to January with a kind of having a grand opening in January of 2022. I feel that's probably going to get pushed about a month or so, but I think we're still doing okay.
Is that just due to weather?
That is due to getting materials.
Okay.
Like this morning I heard there's something stuck in a port in Spain. It's been there a month. I'm like, well, okay. So we're having those kinds of issues. And some of it is the weather, but most of it I think is just getting the supplies. Phase 1 is actually building the expansion, and as you can see, these are photos that have been taken recently, but if you have been by the branch at all this week, you will see that though you can't even see that anymore. It's all blue and it actually looks like walls, and I'm very excited because I can look at the building now and go, oh, that's where our new entrance is going to be. That's where our story time room is going to be, and I can see it coming to life, and it's, for me, very exciting, so I'm very happy with what we're seeing. Our furniture and shelving has been started. It's supposed to be delivered in July, but again, I feel it's probably going to get pushed back to like August. And we're supposed to move all branch operations into the new portion, probably September, October now, while we renovate the old building. So that's what phase 2 is. Oh, sorry. There we go. Phase 2, be in this thing, is renovating the existing building. In there, you can, this is our working floor plan. You can see that we still have our original meeting room there on the far left. That is being renovated, and then we're going to be adding a very large meeting room there that can be split into 2 different ones. So increased meeting rooms was one of the big things we heard that we needed, and we are meeting that need. We're also going to have a dedicated makerspace area that can also be a classroom. So we'll have a couple of classrooms in the new part. And again, we're anticipating being open January 2022, but it may be, you know, a month out from that. Part of our construction, everything, is our capital campaign, which we launched in December, and our silent phase ran through March of 2021. We went public with our public phase on April 1st. That's a buy a brick, so if you haven't heard about it, you can buy a brick for the library and have it, put something on it, and it will go into part of the walkway in front of the
If somebody
building.
wants to buy a brick, what's the, people who are watching, all 8 of our viewers, how much is a brick?
A 4x8 brick is $100, and an 8x8 brick is $250, so it's very reasonable, and we've had very good response to our bricks so far. We've sold 92 bricks. We have some people who have bought multiple ones for their grandkids or their kids, and just, you know, people that they know, and in memoriam of other people. And as of yesterday, we have collected $191,400 in donations from 127 donors, and we have pledges of $50,000 more currently. So we're, I think, well on our way to making our goal for our capital campaign, but we can always use more help, so please spread the word if you would. You can find all the details about our capital campaign on our website at qaclibrary.org/capital campaign. And that was a real quick, because I talk quick, update of our current library operations, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I appreciate your time today.
Whatever happened about the green lettering?
The green lettering.
Green lettering.
Well, I think you'll probably see that it's probably still there, just very much smaller. I do believe that green kind of brings in the outdoorsy aspect of what we're trying to keep very open and airy feel to the library, but the letters have shrunk and have come more into conforming to what the actual code is. So
Hard to believe
there's
that
been
that's the only thing
revision.
people talk about. Why are they putting green lettering on, the big green lettering on a building? You know, so that's the only thing I've ever heard about it. So.
It's more lighting than it is green, but yeah.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your time tonight, and I hope to see you around the library.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for the report.
Yep. Yep, thank you, Janet. Thank you very much. Good to see you as always. And if you want to do any kind of outreach or press releases on your brick program, we can certainly help you with that.
Oh, great.
If you'd like to do that, yeah. Okay, great. All right, Commissioners, our next presenter is the world-famous Bruce Bariana, our Queen Anne's County lobbyist, here to give us the legislative update on this year's 2021 session. So, Bruce, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's a real pleasure to see you all in person. And before I get started, once again, I want to say with the fullest sincerity and honesty that I love working for Queen Anne's County. I really do. I enjoy it very much. You all keep me on my toes, which I like. And, but I feel very honored, and I'd like to go over some items, and of course we'll answer any questions you want. You can interrupt me as we're going along or wait to the end. But bottom line, it was a very busy session for the county during the session. It obviously, as you've read yourself, was a highly unusual session. It was all virtual in terms of testifying in the hearings and things of that nature. I did have opportunities to meet with legislators face-to-face off campus, at restaurants, either for breakfast or in the evenings. And I think you all know, as public officials, there's just no substitute from that interaction and dialogue. But hopefully each of you received, and I sent it again, what I do is during the session, I keep a tracking record of the bills, and of course add on things that you bring to my, attention as well. First, let me just address the local bills, if I may. On the local bill front, all of the local bills that were introduced were enacted, but two. The only two that were, three, excuse me. The only ones that were not enacted were the Sunday hunting bill, which I know was of real interest and concern. I remember being here when it was discussed before it went in. It passed the House. The bill had a hearing in the Senate. That is a Senate bill. And there were several other counties that also had Sunday hunting bills. They all were defeated because the chairman of the committee, the EHEA committee, the Environment, Health and Education Committee, Senator Pinsky, and I said, don't say this disrespectfully or what have you, but he made it very clear during the hearings and other occasions that he is very much against Sunday hunting. And we tried very hard to get the bill out of committee, could not do that. Your state senator, Steve Hershey, was very active in that regard. There were several others as well. I think one in, don't hold me to this, I think Cecil County and one other county, but there were 3 Sunday hunting bills and they all were.
So it never even got a vote in the Senate?
It never got a vote in the Senate committee and obviously not on the floor. Came out of the House without any difficulty whatsoever. It was a local bill. So regretfully, local courtesy was just ignored on this issue. And there were 2 other counties that similarly had that as well. And the effort was very strongly made, but I know Senator Hershey and I spoke to the presiding officer, just couldn't get it lodged, couldn't get it moved. So that one did not pass. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but I really urge that you pursue that next year if that's your prerogative in that regard, and maybe try another method of doing it. I'll try and come back to you with some recommendations in that regard. Similarly, the same chairman withheld the Canal and Drawbridge fishing prohibition bill. And then the third bill that was only introduced in the House had a hearing and just never came up for a vote was the bill concerning the Bay Bridge and traffic and someone being on the bridge and
The stiffer penalties.
yeah, that had a hearing and was never voted on in the committee. Other than that, all the other local bills,
Bruce, what was the feedback on in the prohibition on the canal and fishing?
I'm sorry, what?
What was the feedback as to why they wouldn't move forward the prohibition on the
Honestly,
canal?
I couldn't get a straight answer. I mean, I was told there was no problems with it. The legislators were told that. The chairman of the committee, Senator Pinsky, and I'm just giving you a fact. I'm not trying to blame someone else. I just wouldn't move it at all.
Well, maybe we need to bring the good senator down here and put him under the bridge there and let him see how dangerous it is.
I mean, I didn't understand that at all.
I mean, it's a life safety factor.
Yeah.
We're not looking at it as we're just trying to not let people fish under there. It's, it's
and
dangerous.
I made the argument. All right, we can't convince you, can't move you on the hunting bill, and the counties. This is, the upsetting thing is that these are purely local courtesy,
Right.
And
yeah.
and not that you can do anything you want local courtesy, but these are normal, regular local courtesy. These bills are not substantively out of the realm of normal local governance issues and matters, but. it was not without fully trying. It was,
Oh, I get it. I just meant.
and again, not making an excuse or anything like that, but the inability to, interact face to face in person has its limitations as well.
I think that's
really
probably the case, Bruce, on a lot of pieces of legislation that didn't come out of committee, is the lack of the ability to testify,
Yeah, well, that,
passionately testify on these pieces of legislation.
no question. You're
It was
absolutely right.
certainly a challenge for you and our 36th district delegation, and I know that those gentlemen did the best that they could to try to, but they were working with their hands
It really did. I mean, I testified about a dozen times during the session, on various clients and what have you. I don't think I, was bombed out or anything, but I was not happy with any of my testimony because I'm just talking to a screen and I just couldn't really get a sense of, like I'm doing now with the faces and the bodies and just, so it really does. And then the other thing, I'm much more effective begging in person than I am on the screen. I really am, and I just so you're right, Commissioner. It really does have its.
It's a
but
different
I was not happy with it, and I if you decide to pursue this again next year, I will be very much there and try and avoid what happened this time around. Other bills that were considered. Let me take a few of them. On a personal note, the electrician bill passed. Commissioner Wilson was communicating with me regularly, which I was very pleased. There was a very major overhaul of the profession of electrician in terms of bringing together some uniformity, so that if electricians work in a lot of different counties and different jobs there, they can have one uniform license. And it did not take any of the regulatory abilities of the local counties, but it did, consolidate and make it one license so that people can move around. And it was the product of a lot of work over about 5 years by stakeholders, and finally got it done. And so respectfully, I know at least I made Commissioner Wilson happy, with that, working with other people. As you see on a chart, and there was just no real effort or function on it, but the effort to further the highway distribution funds, both for counties and localities, just in the midst of everything and some of the overriding issues and the flow of the session just didn't get any real attention. The bill passed the Senate, Senate Bill 362, and died in the House and just didn't get any real priority. There was a number of other issues that were very much dominating up to the end of the session in that regard.
I thought the municipalities got back to 100% in the governor's budget in terms of HURs.
That they did, yes.
They did, but the counties were still left.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so the municipalities are all back to where they were. Okay.
Right.
All right.
The bill that occupied an enormous amount of time was, of course, House Bill 655, introduced by a local state delegate from St. Mary's County, Delegate Brian Crosby. The bill was introduced without any discussion of any other legislators or notification, even though the bill affected 5 counties, Queen Anne's being one of those counties. The bill was introduced because allegedly there was discriminating redistricting and drawing of lines in that county, and the bill was supposed to rectify that and change the at-large districts to single-member districts that you have to win by a plurality of the votes. It was not a local bill. It affected 5 counties, Queen Anne's being one of them, Garrett, Washington County, theoretically, as well. It angered quite a number of legislators, particularly those from these counties, because there was no courtesy of knowing in advance or of respecting local courtesy or even the notion, very respectfully, of what is a legislator from St. Mary's County having the prerogative or the audacity, if I respectfully can use that word, of legislating concerning another county that they're not even a member of and that they don't represent, let alone tell you in advance. So it stirred up a lot of emotions. I spoke to several of you throughout the course of it, worked very hard and actively with Delegate Arons and Senator Hershey. It became a very uncomfortable issue in the House in terms of how the bill was portrayed. Fortunately, the bill was defeated in the Senate. It had a hearing, and then Senator Hershey, given his very solid and excellent bipartisan relationship with the Senate President, was able to prevail, working with Senator Edwards from Garrett County and several other legislators, Senator Jack Bailey from St. Mary's County. As you may know, the county commissioners of St. Mary's were all opposed to it. The Senator Jack Bailey and one of the other delegates was very opposed to it. It was just his one delegate, and it was. I've been around Annapolis a long time, and this really was quite a. It ignored all local courtesies. I mean, it threw local courtesy out the window in the House because, like Delegate Arons did an amendment to, fine, they got a problem allegedly in St. Mary's County. That's their problem. What are you messing around with Queen Anne's County? Take us out of the bill. They tried taking Garrett County out of the bill, and those amendments, of local courtesy were ignored overwhelmingly. But fortunately, it did not pass. I'm not exaggerating, and he didn't even ask me to say this, but really, Senator Hershey, working very closely with the other senators, they really stayed on it pretty incessantly. They really did, and in a broad sense, it did occupy in the last days, time and attention on like the Sunday hunting bill. It's not the reason why. I mean, the chairman of the committee just doesn't like that, and some other bills, but because they all were in the same committee. But as you might have seen in an article that I sent around, and if not, I'll send it around again. An article after the session, Senator Ferguson, the president of the Senate, says stalled county election reform bill likely to get a Senate vote in 2022. Doesn't say it's going to pass, but it's going to get a vote. So, in a sense, I'm glad we learned that up front, and we have, and I know I have, and we have between now and January to really work out some strategies and do some things. As you all know much better than I do, Queen Anne's County was in a very unique situation because several years ago you had, I know it was not binding, but it was real. You had a referendum. And the voters of this county spoke. The residents, the citizens of this county spoke very recently. It was just a couple of years ago. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that in all of the election districts in this county, it was overwhelming, against the proposal. So it wasn't just one area of the county dominating from a vote standpoint. So one could say really very strongly, hey, Queen Anne's County, the voters spoke. You want to talk about democracy, what have you, but it's for another day, another occasion, and I'll be very happy to come out here, either formally or informally, but I just urge you all respectfully that you need to be thinking further about this issue and talking about it, see if there's some way on the local level that it can be avoided or just addressed. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying it's going to be back next session, and each session is different, but I just think we should make very good use of this time between now and then to address it. And as I said, I'm happy to come out, have a work session, discussion with you, whatever you want. I know it's critically important to really the fundamental election process that you all have in this county. From that standpoint, so that was on that bill, and then lastly on my side, I don't mean to take up so much of your time. I was very happy to help out. I spoke to your county administrator and talked to all the members of the Board of Public Works, and really very easily on a 3-0 vote, even the comptroller, Franco, voted for it, got the approval on the additional money and the funding of the sewer project on Route 8. Board of Public Works acted on that favorably last week, which was very important to the county. And everyone spoke on the Board of Public Works, spoke very supportive and very favorable towards it. You know, I will be at Mako. I look forward to seeing you at Mako and working with you. If there are any meetings you want me to help set up with any key legislators or anything relative to county business, I'll be very happy to do that. And I please urge you, for your sakes, not for me personally, but on the 13th of October, the crabs will be fatter and there'll be no humidity. It's the Militaws Crab Feast.
Is it going to happen?
The powers to be in Somerset County moved it from July to October. And I would love you to be there. I have a table for you at my tent, and it's be an election year coming up. There'll be a lot of folks and a lot of good interaction of governmental officials, and I just mention that to you. So hopefully you can put that on your calendars and join us for that. But be happy to answer any questions you have or have any instructions. I would just repeat because we really spent a lot of time, and I believe in it so strongly. I was very angered by House Bill 655 that please think and talk among yourselves. And then I really hope that you then get me together with you all so that we can just, have really a deep dive into this and discuss possible options or remedies or strategies for next session. If you don't mind my saying that, really, it's, more than it really goes to the essence of this very fine body and you all deciding, how you're going to govern yourselves and not having St. Mary's County or the state legislature tell you how to do it.
Well, I think the good thing is even if it does come out of session and does pass next year, it doesn't affect our election process next year. If I understand that correctly.
It's a whole other cycle.
I'm not
It's 4 years later.
I would hope so.
In other words, this session, so this election cycle next year, certainly won't be affected by 655.
I would hope so, and I've thought of that. I would hope that, but they're not trying to scare anyone or what have you. But there could be a provision in the bill, which was not, in this one, to make it applicable to this election.
Well, then that would be a legal challenge
It would
to
be an
the
emergency
voter rights. I mean, because you're telling somebody when a law comes into enacted, July 1?
No, it could be an emergency bill that could be passed and presented to the governor during the session, and the governor would only have 6 days to either sign it or veto it. If he vetoed it, then they're still in session. They could override that veto.
Right.
Then it would affect this next year's election cycle.
I'll do some more research on that, but if they put a provision as to its application, because the filing deadline,
February 25th.
Filing deadline is February, okay? I think timing would be with us. I don't know when you all are going to get your census data, to actually be able to have official data to do something like that. But I wouldn't. I'm going to check into that further. We talked about that during this whole last session, but there could be possibly provisions that would try to make it applicable right away. I think the sponsor would want to do that because he's trying to get himself reelected. He's trying to give himself an issue in St. Mary's County that'll help him get elected. But I will check further into that because that is a very material point, Commissioner. That really is.
Do you think there's going to be a cross-filing on it next time?
Excuse me?
Do you think there'll be a cross-filing from the Senate side next time?
No.
And see,
No,
that's the
because
weird part about it.
Senator Bailey, who's the senator from St. Mary's, is not going to do it. The other senators, affected by this are not going to introduce it. And yes, you could have it, but the notion of a senator or any legislator not within the district, not representing,
What is it, 5 counties? Was it 5 or
any
6?
county that's affected by this, yes, they can introduce it. You can't stop them. They have that prerogative, but,
But I mean, that's actually how it got through this year, Bruce. I mean,
Excuse me?
it went through the House, and
Well,
then the
because
Senate decided to pick it up, which this thing took a trajectory that most bills never take.
oh, there's no question. And it ignored local courtesy.
Right,
over
that's
the
what I'm
House.
saying. You never see a bill that goes out of the House without a cross-filing or something, and then all of a sudden it's picked up in the 11th hour to say, oh yeah, okay, we're going to take this bill up, and we're not only going to take it up, but we're going to push it to the forefront to make sure we get it heard in committee.
And he
They
made
really
it-
pushed it.
And he made it, Delegate Crosby made it a statewide bill, statewide meaning
Right.
not a local bill, because he couldn't get the local delegation to support it. The senator was against it, and the other 2 delegates were against it. So, just like, here, you need the okay, to have a local bill introduced, you need the procedure is you need a vote of the local delegation, and you couldn't get that, so he had to make it statewide. But if a legislator not in a county affected by this put it in, I mean, that,
Well, I think what we learned this year is never say never. And
I was gonna say.
Prepare for it, just to make sure.
respectfully, I don't think we're done talking about this and
I
dealing
think
with
you're
it,
right.
and I'll do some research on that point, and then I will be at your availability. I will,
Okay, so here, my turn. We had 4 alcohol bills. You didn't mention any of the alcohol bills. Which ones passed, which ones did not pass? We had I think one was for
Churches?
churches and places of worship,
the ones that passed were the churches,
okay, places of worship,
the unannounced
visits, inspections.
inspectors. So those are the 2. The House bills and the Senate bills of those 2 passed.
Okay, so both those had House bills and both those had Senate bills and
Right,
both
and
passed.
they passed.
And the 2 that did not pass?
The 2 that did not pass are, just give me a moment, please, is the license application exceptions, and
The big one,
To being able to get the,
Yeah.
out of
yeah,
the chain, or the.
Chain restaurants, right.
Whatever, right? For the 4 licenses or the 3 licenses.
right.
Do you know the bill number?
No, I don't have it with me, but chain restaurants. So, but was a license in a chain restaurant cross-filed?
No,
Okay, so,
It was filed on the House side, not Senate, or?
outside.
yeah, they were both, yeah, so, I mean, I tell you, to me, it was a dismal session for Queen Anne's County, to say the least. I mean, the Sunday hunting, you're right, there was no courtesy whatsoever to a local bill.
We tried very hard on that.
And I'm not, don't take this,
Okay.
I'm talking about Annapolis. This is the atmosphere in Annapolis, so, these bills that we didn't get passed were all local bills. I mean, we were just trying to take care of business in Queen Anne's County. The Bay Bridge one for the stiffer penalties, I think MDTA supported that, but they just didn't know how we could get that through in language that people could agree to, because nobody wanted to agree to put somebody in jail for 3 years for climbing up on the Bay Bridge with to the highest point and endangering the lives of your fire and your emergency services. So and that's what I can't get my head wrapped around. The fishing bill, again, it's a safety issue, and we couldn't get these passed. I testified on both House Bill 65 and the Senate side, and that Mr. Crosby is a how can I put this politely? He's one that when you flush doesn't go down. And I'm telling you, if anybody, I'm pretty sure, Bruce, you can go back and you can find where those testimonies are. Don't they record those?
Oh, everything's recorded, yes.
You need to watch the testimony on
Those
House
hearings,
Bills
those 2
655.
hearings, and I watched them. I watched them.
I testified in both, and you're right,
I know you did.
just like that we had a straw poll, and the citizens of Queen Anne's County voted that down. And for them to come at us now, and I really got a little irate on the Senate side, because one of the senators came up and he said, you know, when I open up and look at the 5 counties that vote at large, I see a bunch of old white men, quote unquote. So, I mean, you know, these are the times we live in. And this is, it's very disturbing to hear someone make a comment like that. And I said to him back, I said, look, I'm sorry if Queen Anne's County is 90 or 92% white. I mean, we're not moving anybody out. We had an African-American 3 set of commissioners ago, Courtney Billups, an attorney. I said, we had a female 3 times, you know, cycles before. So, you know, how does that play into this? I mean, it makes no sense. So, you know, but their response was, there's no persons of color that sit on your board. And I'm like, they're not running. They're not running. I mean, you know, so this bill is going to get jammed down our throat without a doubt. It's going to pass next year. No ifs, ands, and buts. There's a new sheriff in town in Annapolis, and he's not Republican, and he doesn't like Republicans. So this bill may have got stuck in the drawer, but it cost us probably these other bills. And, you know, I'm a little perplexed at it, and it worries me when even our liquor bills can't get passed. I mean, that to me is alarming. So I don't know what else I can say. I'm disappointed, not in your effort, Bruce. I know that you're up there every day pounding the hallways up there, but, you know, I just think that we're going to have an uphill battle from here on out. I think climate across this nation has changed, and, you know, you're right. You said it earlier. You know, if I got to beg, I want to beg in person.
I'm not contradicting or arguing with you. I'm not going to accept that 655 is going to be rammed down your throats next time around. I think we have some time. We can use it very valuably. Mm-hmm. That's why I ask you all to at least talk among yourselves initially, and then let's have a discussion session. I'm happy to come out here. I love.
But we oppose it. No ifs, ands, and buts.
But maybe there's some other things. There are none that I'm sitting here that I can convey to you. But maybe there are some other things that can be done to perhaps prevent it. We used a lot of stalling tactics on this last time around, and you know, every session is very different. It's going to be an election year session, and I mean, it's I'm not just saying it to say it, but I take each one individually. I don't give up, and you hopefully can learn from the last experience and maybe come up with some strategies. I know I'm going to be talking to people, even from the other counties and stuff like that, and see what can be done. But are defeating that, and really your delegate and your senator, your resident, working as hard and as effectively they did, was a huge victory. It really was. Because, I mean, you had, and if I'm taking too much time, just tell me that, you know. I mean, on that bill, I mean, it had such overtones. But you know, on that bill, Ray Lewis, and I'm a Redskins fan, okay, but Ray Lewis did a video that was, you know, on Facebook and stuff like that in support of this bill. Yeah. And the speaker, respectfully, which is her prerogative, but the speaker also did a video, you know, urging and lobbying the passage of this thing. So.
Well, I think that's why Bill Ferguson wrote the letter, the op-ed there. I think he let it be known. Next year it will get a vote. So
it's going to get a vote. Doesn't mean it's going to pass. And I
understand.
I'm
fight the good fight.
You know, every day's different. Every session is different, and hopefully we can do something. And I will check into that other matter, maybe to clarify it and make sure that the bill does not apply to the next election, which is, you know, right there. I mean, you have to have orderly elections, but I mean, all rules of decorum and precedent were thrown out the window on this bill. As I said, the notion of 2 delegates getting up and moving their counties out of the bill when it doesn't even affect them being rejected. Local bills in the House floor just have never been treated that way.
It just seems to me that if that piece of legislation does pass in next year's session, let's just say it does pass.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already got candidates that are planning within the next couple of months to file for re-election.
That's correct.
Or candidates who are going to file for a seat. What are they going to have to do? Refile? If it does come into play in this next election cycle next year, are they going to have to refile? I mean, are you going to automatically going to run?
That's the side issue with it. I mean, the issue is that someone that doesn't like something in another county can force something upon.
Oh, sure.
The county has nothing to do with them. And that's the part that's very alarming. I mean, in one of the comments, they talked about it, and they said, look, I think their argument for St. Mary's is Leonardtown is 40% African-American. Okay, that's fine. They have districts there that nobody can get elected. I can't answer to their problems. So I don't know. I said to them, I said, well, so what's next? Okay, you enact this, and it doesn't get you the results that you were looking for. You're looking for more African-Americans seated in positions of, elected officials. If that doesn't happen, what are you going to do next? Are you going to redo the districts in the counties? You're going to redraw the lines? I mean, that's what you did when it came to the congressional seats. You redrew the lines, and we're down to one Republican left. So, I mean, that's what worries me, is if this goes, what's next? So,
Well, the same principle, allegedly, of this bill, not allegedly, but the same principle proposed of this bill, that only through single member can you really reflect the voter base and give people an opportunity. It would apply to the members of the House of Delegates. That, those legislative districts where you don't have single member districts in those legislative districts where they 3 run at large. Well, that's no different that area is no different than Queen Anne's County,
Right.
where you run at large. I mean, if you're looking at principles, but the House of Delegates was not, in this bill. They put in the school board from Montgomery County. They got that in, because of that situation. But the alleged premise of by the sponsor of the bill, for this, is just not. It's either should apply to everything, or not. And there are other elections where it would not be applicable, and all that has to really be brought to light.
one way to avoid it, you could change the charter and just say, we're going to elect 5 individuals at large for the county. No districts.
You
5 at large, and there you go.
But again, so what you do there is then you turn it into why they have districts in Queen Anne's County, because then all 5 get elected from the Stevensville, Chester populated areas. There's no representation at all up north. There's no representation right here in the county seat in Centerville. That's why we are the way we are, and that's what people don't understand. And I want to add on this. So one of my fellow colleagues from MACO on the board of directors, Ruben, who's in Charles County, he wrote a great op-ed, African-American, wrote a great op-ed about this, and he said, this does not change governance, because then you still may have a silent voice there, is because it may not be the voice of the people. And I agree, I can't agree with that more. I mean, yes, if you get elected by district, that's great. Okay, your district loves you, but you got to work with the other districts, and in our case, an at-large commissioner, to get things done, because it takes 3 people in this room to get anything done. And a lot of people don't understand that side of the governance of how this works. If you're you're out there on an island and nobody else in this room likes you, and you can't get along with anybody else in this room, you're still not representing your district very well, because you're not getting anything done for your district at that point. So it's much better when you have 5 people, white, black, green, yellow, male, female, I don't care, Martians, that get along and get things done. And that's what good governance is. It's governing from the middle, not from the fringes on the left or the fringes on the right. It's coming together to find...
Some of these structures are to avoid parochialism.
Right, exactly.
And one part of whatever the jurisdiction is, getting more attention or what have you than the others.
It would be bad for Queen Anne's County's governance if they did that.
I think the way we do it here makes sense for us. I mean, I'll come up and go to eventually in Sellersville. Those are my voters as well. And if we get out there, we see everybody in the whole county, and that everybody in the county's interests are represented.
Well, and it raises your awareness to the issues to get those other 2 votes here when we sit down. Because if you didn't have to go to Sellersville and look at an issue that's up there, but I'm coming here to champion that issue, and I can't get 2 more of you guys to come look at the issue so that you can side with me and say, oh, you know what, we do need to address this. I'm an island. I'm an island unto myself. Right. And so all the squeaky wheels that may be on Kent Island or Chester or the more populated areas, they're going to get greased first, and the other areas are going to be left out, because it does take a collaboration of at least 3 people to get something done.
And as I said, you all are in a unique situation, respectfully, in that your constituents, your citizens spoke on this issue directly just recently. So you do have something to, if you believe it, by the people, everyone has a vote and a voice. Everyone had that in the referendum. Everyone had one vote. And as I was told by others, in every election district that you have in the county, it was unanimously, rejected as a proposal. So we'll
talk more on that. We can talk
I'm-
further. Jim, do you have any other?
just want to stress I make myself available to you.
Bruce, thank you.
Anybody have anything for Bruce?
Anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Have a
very
good
much.
night, and again, thank you very much for letting me represent the county.
Thank you.
We'll see you, Mako.
Hopefully I'll see you
Enjoy
before
your summer.
Mako. Hopefully I'll see you before Mako, but I'll see you there. Yes,
All right.
sir. Thank you. Good night. Good night.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. Good to see you, as always. Okay, Commissioners, that is all we have for presentations this evening. We can turn to tab number 7, I believe, for legislation. We have 2 county ordinances that can be introduced this evening.
To schedule 2 public hearings.
Right, this is just introducing them, then there'll be a public hearing. There's no vote on them today.
Yeah, the first one is County Ordinance 21-02, major and minor multifamily dwellings and non-residential height requirements in the urban commercial UC zoning district in Queen Anne's County.
I'll introduce it.
Commissioner Moran, okay. And the second one is County Ordinance 2103, self-storage uses in the town center TC zoning district in Queen Anne's County.
I'll introduce that too. Whatever happened to the solar one?
It is, it wasn't ready. The Planning Commission is still working on a few things. It'll come up probably next meeting.
Oh, okay, okay. I knew there was 3 when I sat.
There was
with the
3,
Planning
yes.
Commission.
These are all citizen-sponsored text amendments, by the
Right.
way, yes. We have one
And just so people understand, there's 10 days in February where citizens can submit citizen-sponsored text amendments. We send it over to the Planning Commission, they vote. It comes back to us, it gets introduced. Introducing is not enacting the law, it's not voting for it, it's saying we're going to have a hearing on it. And those who are for or against can come and have your time. This is, because I've been reading some things that people are misconstruing what's going on. This is open government, this is transparency, this is the process. So both these ordinances will be advertised. It's probably going to be in June would be my guess when we have a hearing on them. So come out if you like it or if you don't like it, and you can Zoom in or you can come in person and let us know your position on that. But this is how open government works.
Exactly.
Okay.
Commissioner, thank you. That's all we had for legislation, so we can go to press and public comment.
No virtual comments.
Anybody sign up?
Well, there's nobody out there, so.
Come on, you sat here, you sat here all night long listening to us. What did you come for? Did you thought we were going to talk about something? Or?
Hear about the legislation, the first one?
Okay.
Oh, the 2102? Okay,
I'm
yeah.
curious about, you had a very long discussion about the bill, and I didn't hear what the bill, the St. Mary's delegate tried to pass.
That's a bill to force the 5 counties, the remaining 5 counties in the state of Maryland that vote at large. I mean, everybody in the county gets to vote for all 5 commissioners. It's a bill that says you get to vote for your commissioner in your district and the at-large.
And that's it.
So wherever you live, you'd vote for 2 people. Me being the at-large in whatever district you live in, that's who you vote for.
And then the rest you can't vote for.
I'm fairly new, like the last few years to the county, so right now we vote for all of them.
Yes, yes,
Correct.
ma'am. That's right.
And that would seek to change that, so you would only get 2 commissioners that you voted for.
Right.
And one guy in St. Mary's wants to do this, but
Well, he's a delegate, and he can't get the support from the St. Mary's commissioners, the St. Mary's senators, or the other 2 delegates. That's why it's not a local law. So he introduced it in Annapolis as a state law, and then now when he does that, it affects everybody in the state that votes that way. And that's what that law is.
Takes on a
And
whole
it-
different image when it goes as a statewide bill, because now
So it never-
there are unintended consequences that come with it.
Right, so it never got out of the drawer for a vote in the Senate, but this year, correct, and it's over, but the Senate leader said next year, if the bill is there, it will get a vote. So that is coming. All righty?
All right.
Cool.
All right, well, that close the press about comment.
Ken?
Commissioner Wilson?
Roundtable?
Roundtable?
Shocked. We are in the middle of vaccinating the public, as the public is aware. And unfortunately, the pace of vaccination is beginning to slow. And if we can keep it up, we will sooner get our masks off and this thing behind us. So I think I join my fellow commissioners in hope that anyone who feels they can get a vaccination will do so, because it will be to the benefit of the entire county. That's it.
Okay.
I agree too, Steve. You know, the sooner, if you haven't got the shot, get the shot. The sooner we get, the most people we can humanly get vaccinated, the sooner we'll be done with this. Because I'm done with it now. So that's all I got.
All right. Commissioner Dumino.
I really don't have anything specific. Just glad that we're, reached the light at the end of the tunnel as far as our budget. I think I do want to, and I'll probably get a chance to do this in the next couple of weeks, but I do want to commend staff and our various department heads and directors for working closely with our county administrator to come in with a budget that's certainly manageable, and it wasn't a monumental task as commissioners, because they did set a good foundation for what was presented to us to discuss and make a decision on. So again, kudos to our county administrator and our finance department and our directors and supervisors of their departments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that very much.
Commissioner Wilson.
All right, so I do want to kind of follow up on Commissioner Corcarino brought up about the processes and transparency here in government, and I think that's one thing that we've always tried to maintain is how we conduct ourselves in terms of things that are brought before us, trying to vet things, get as much information as you can. Are we always going to be right? Absolutely not. If that was the case, we wouldn't be sitting here as commissioners if we were always right. So I encourage people that aren't familiar with the processes to reach out to us individually or reach out to our office. They're more than happy to explain a lot of the stuff that we do, i.e. tonight introducing an ordinance for a hearing. I think that's the best. If you were an individual and you had something you wanted to bring forward in the county as an ordinance, you would certainly want to be heard by us and be vetted through the open process with your peers here in the county, fellow citizens. So I encourage that no matter what comes before us, even if I don't have a personally good feeling about an ordinance, even when it's introduced, I still want to hear the facts on both sides, because I think that's the fairest way to conduct government and, be open and honest about what's being brought before us. So enough said on that. I guess we got some encouraging news this week, or maybe the end of last week, in terms of infrastructure money here spent in the state specifically for broadband. I believe the number's in the 300 million. I think it's 300 million that the state is earmarking for broadband deployment here in Maryland. And I've talked to the county administrator, Mon, about this to some extent, that my fear is that this money will wind up in the hands of those that don't need it. And by that I mean the counties that already have served areas that are served at a higher level than is maybe I don't want to say necessary, because some people have different needs, but at a higher level than the people that have absolutely nothing. So my hope is that the state is fair in this process. It kind of changes my mind in terms of the other CARES money we talked about, holding aside for the broadband. If this money is available, I'd like to know more details. And the reason I say that is if we do put money aside and it's going to require money to get more money. If we have to come up with their 60-40 grants or 70-30 grants or whatever the case may be, I still think we should have a little bit of money sitting there to be able to pull that money in from the state level and utilize it here locally, because I think we're at a turning point here in the county, and via the Broadband Advisory Commission, some of their talks, they've done a great job to date, and we're really lined up to get Queen Anne's County served and pretty much 100% within the next 5 years, which would be phenomenal for all our citizens. And when I say served, I'm talking high-speed broadband. I'm not talking MiFis. I'm not talking using your cell phone. I'm talking, for the most part, in the unserved areas right now, fiber is the way it's going. So, you know, and then to overbuild some of our existing areas. But, you know, my fear always been, because it happened, history can repeat itself if you don't learn from it, and it happened. When they did this original study for broadband that ended in 2014, federal government put $600 million or whatever the god-awful number was into it, and all they did was go in and overbuild the larger concentrated areas and left all the rural areas, unserved areas where they are, and that's why we are where we are today, because that money was part of a Rural Broadband Act, and it absolutely went nowhere to the rural areas. It went in to the pockets of the big money guys in Verizon and Comcast and all those guys to go in and build out existing areas. So to me, it's almost criminal, but who's going to prosecute them at this point, you know? So again, that's encouraging news, and I think we have to do whatever we have to do, whether it's writing letters, reaching out, and encourage the state to make it an equal share across the board, especially for us rural counties that are, you know, desperate need, and I think COVID brought it to light, so.
For that connectivity, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
A question, sir. Is
Yes.
there any language in any of this for upgrading substandard but served areas? Because one of the problems a lot of our citizens kick about is that, you know, they've got service, but it's not.
Yeah, and I think that was a long-term goal to the Broadband Advisory Commission. You know, obviously their first goal walking in day one was to try and get our unserved areas. But the other goal within their top 3 goals is also to make sure not to forget the areas that are served now where the infrastructure is going to deteriorate. I mean, we have a lot of areas in the county that are still served by coax cable.
Yeah.
And it's, well, because of what it's served by. So fiber can push to extreme speeds, but if you get down there and you have coax, you have a choke point there. So you're never going to get those speeds to the home. So I think it's important not only to upgrade the medium that you're transmitting it on, but also the equipment transmitting. And that's one of the things. In a lot of these areas, there's older equipment still transmitting. So again, yes, the money should be spread out equally. Whether it's 30% is going towards upgrading existing served areas and 70% is making sure we're deploying in unserved areas. I mean, I don't know what that balance is, but yes, that balance has got to be maintained, because otherwise we're just going to flip the script, and 5 years from now, the served areas are going to be behind what we're considering the unserved now in terms of service. So we've got to make sure we keep that balance going.
That's the point.
And our Broadband Advisory Commission has done a great job of putting that in perspective. The report we got done for the countywide stuff, I think, did a great job of highlighting that. So we have a blueprint that we can follow, future commissions can follow, and we should hopefully never get into a situation, you know, where we've been, and honestly, probably 85% of the country still sits in terms of, you know, where's that connectivity coming from and when is it getting there? So, that's it.
All right. Just to sort of build on something that Commissioner Wilson said about sort of transparency, we hear a lot of people say, oh, the commissioners, there they go again, they didn't advertise it, or there's this backdoor deal or something like that. We have press releases. The meeting minutes are published on the website. We have QACTV does programs. We do interviews sometimes for QACTV. We do interviews for the local newspaper. You can sign up for alerts on the county website, and you'll get the email blast straight to you on what happens. You can watch these commissioner meetings live. You can watch them on Facebook if you miss them. They're available as a podcast, so if you drive, you can download and listen to commissioner meetings. It's not exciting, but it's there. Planning commission meetings are also available like that. So we have Facebook pages for all the different departments, and the information is pumped out that way. We don't do skywriting, but we pump out the information in a lot of different ways. And so I sort of take it sometimes personally when I see these things about, you know, these allegations back from dealing. We have tried to be as transparent as possible in everything. If you go through and you see that what we're publishing with the minutes and the agendas, you're going to see all these things are there. They are out there. And I get you don't have time to maybe scour through everything. If there was an easier way other than all the resources I just mentioned, you know, suggest it. If there's more we can do, we're always at it. I mean, when this group started, we added the podcast. So we're always trying to create more ways to get the information out there. You can also call us, and, you know, I think if anybody's called a commissioner, they've probably been surprised that, you know, they get a call back, that we all try our best to do that. If you don't get a call back, call us again, because we must have missed the call, because I'm sure that everybody here does their best to get back, or, you know, call the office and say that no good commissioner hasn't called me back yet, and they'll shoot us an email and say, do your job and call this person back. So we're trying to get the information out to you as many ways as possible. It's there. If we can find other ways to streamline it, suggest it.
To your point too, Chris, is, again, there's 5 of us, and we don't represent we represent the county. So if you can't get a hold of us, you can get a hold of any one of the 5 of us, and you're gonna get.
So no matter where you live, call Jack.
My phone's on 24/7.
He'll have to respond to you. And then another issue is, so I mentioned earlier, if you live in Cloverfields, there's issues with drainage that have been brought to our attention, and DPW and other agencies have been looking into the issue. The investigation's been ongoing. We're having a virtual town hall tomorrow. You can watch it on the QACTV Facebook page. If you live in Cloverfields and you're on the Cloverfields Facebook page, there's also information there about how to access by Zoom if you want to ask questions. If you can't watch tomorrow, it'll be a replay that you can see, but DPW has put together a presentation to sort of explain the history of drainage in Cloverfields back to when it was a farm. We've received emails that we requested the public to give us with their questions about, is this causing it or is that causing it? And DPW has investigated those issues, so we'll be able to provide some information about some of the theories that people have, and explain some of the things that can be done to mitigate the issue. If you're looking for someone to solve the issue of drainage, I'm sorry, you live on Kent Island, and it floods everywhere on Kent Island. It's low-lying, clay soil with nowhere for the water to go. So we're looking at ways to mitigate, but it will continue to be an issue if you live on Kent Island. I'll show you my backyard. I live on Kent. That's the other thing I've heard people say. The commissioners need to live in the districts that they represent. 4 of us live in the district we were elected for, and then there's the at-large. So we live in all areas of the county, and we travel to all areas of the county, and we listen to everybody. So I'm in District 4. I do live on Kent Island. I do sit in the traffic in the summertime, and my backyard floods as well when we get rainstorms. So I truly experience the issues that you're talking about, and they are things that all of us care about, and we can't wave a wand and fix everything, but we do our best. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.